Yeah, so that does take up a lot of our time, but we do other stuff as well.
So, I do many things other than marking and teaching.
A relatively small proportion of my role is actually purely teaching.
I think something that students don't really quite realise how many different things that you actually end up doing. I think most of the time students think that you mark, you teach and you supervise, but actually there's loads and loads of different things that you do.
But beyond the kind of, supporting you guys, we all have our own research area.
So I manage a research lab called the Connected Memory Lab. So a large part of my job involves managing that team, running experiments.
As well as, of course, trying to publish that research, as well as trying to obtain funding, so get grants for that kind of research.
Even if we're teaching focused, we'll be doing our own pedagogy alongside kind of what we're teaching you guys.
So teaching focused staff do still do research. Our research is just more related to what we call pedagogy, and that means the kind of theoretical side of teaching. So what helps with teaching, what helps student learn, what helps with the student experience.
But also there are many other things that you might do in a pedagogic domain. So for example, you may come up with innovative teaching methods and you may want to go to conferences and promote those teaching methods. You may also write textbooks.
We also have special interest groups here at Royal Holloway, which is really nice. So we have these kind of guest speakers that we like to go see as well.
As well as that, I also am involved with larger student initiatives. So for example, peer mentoring schemes I'm involved in running. I'm also involved with different days that we have on campus, different student-led days like Wellbeing Day.
Of course, I also have to engage in my professional practice activities. So that is when I go out into the workplace and try and work with organisations on different projects, trying to apply my social psychology expertise to different behavioural problems that they have.
Now there are various administrative duties that academics may get involved in, and not necessarily will you do each one. You will be allocated a few that are your responsibility for a period of time to oversee.
So people in these admin roles, they kind of know all that stuff, like where to signpost, what the correct procedure is for kind of a lot of things that happen here at university.
I've got a roster of administrative duties. I will be looking after students who are going overseas. I'll be looking after students coming over to us and taking out modules who are based overseas.
It might be dealing with academic misconduct cases, it might be coordinating the entire undergraduate programme or postgraduate programmes, it may be overseeing a particular year of the undergraduate programme.
So we have obviously exam chairs as well, so we have people whose sort of job it is basically to kind of like organise the exams, but also we have extenuating circumstances, so there are people who sit on those boards.
I'll also be looking after our students who are going to do an optional placement year.
You may also be the person who's responsible for our admissions for our degree programmes.
Another admin role that's very important to us would be being a member of an ethics panel.
I also have an industry advisory board role where I oversee and chair a school level industry advisory panel where we've put together a panel of industry leaders who can advise the school on things like curriculum and internships and things like that.
You may also be involved in things like the personal tutoring process, so overseeing that, running that, organising that, as well as other various aspects that are involved with the student support side of things.
So another thing that we can do in our own time is our own kind of outreach.
And we're all expected to do to some degree is what's called public outreach. So this might be, for example, do kind of schools related events, so trying to encourage A-level students to consider doing psychology as a degree.
So for example, it's very important to Royal Holloway that we do invite certain schools around the local area to come for open days,
or days where prospective students come to see the university.
Other types of public outreach might include presenting things to the public. You may get involved in radio panel discussions. You may be asked to present your research, maybe on a radio talk show or on a television show.
And also other external responsibilities. So I'm heavily involved in things like public engagement, peer review, working with external funding panels, working with various consortia and things like that.
So actually what happens is that what students see that you do is actually quite a small component of your job. There's lots of things that go on behind the scenes to make sure that the degree runs smoothly, that students are well supported, as well as, of course, lots of things that aren't actually student facing, but are more to do with your own scholarship or research or public outreach as well.
So it's a very kind of diverse job, really. So you're kind of teaching is one part, but then on the side, I'm also doing a lot of other work around research and external engagement.
This is actually part of my job that I really love. I love the flexibility and the creativity of what I do. Really good question. It can vary. Again, this is something about this job that I love.
It's a really good mix. I think it's probably one of the best parts of the job.
I think it's true to say that no 2 weeks really look the same. It depends where we are in the cycle. For example, all my teaching happens in term 2. So term 1, I'm not engaged in a lot of teaching and I'm focusing more on the administrative roles and so on.
So I'd say in the typical day, obviously a lot of that is admin, of course. We also have personal tutors, we have final year students, we have postgrad students. So, there'll be a lot of kind of emailing and like meetings, etc.
But I would say a typical week involves dealing with students' inquiries and questions. So whether that's responding to emails or responding to different questions on Moodle forum posts. I spend quite a lot of time doing that. Also holding drop-ins, so meeting students in person.
So, any given day could be very teaching heavy, meeting with students all throughout the day.
I might be seeing some personal tutees that week, so I might be providing some pastoral support.
And I also spend quite a lot of time with my final year project or my master's project students, supporting them, answering their questions, helping them with anything that they're up to.
Where we'll meet to see how the project work is going on. It might be design or analysis or write-up guidance.
But generally also a big part of it is managing our own modules on Moodle. So if you're a module coordinator, you check your Moodle forums, you make sure that all of the materials are uploaded.
Of course, I also deliver lectures, so quite a bit of my time will be taken up with sorting out all of my resources on Moodle, doing the lecture, of course, answering questions after the lecture.
It could be school level meetings I'm involved with because of my industry advisory board work.
And as well as that, there'll be extra bits and bobs that happen, such as the different student initiatives and schemes. There will be times when I'm having meetings or running different things like that. If there's marking, then I'll also spend some time doing marking.
It also could be running data analysis, holding meetings with postdoctoral staff that I work with, working with collaborators, visiting other institutions around the UK.
Meetings with industry partners, some of whom I might be engaged in research with, some of whom I'm hoping might want to engage me in research.
So my weeks tend to be very diverse, which actually is one of the best parts of the job for me.
Every week is different, but those are some of the things that I might be involved in. So, quite a lot of variety in terms of what I might be getting up to in any single week.
So it really does kind of vary. There isn't a definite routine to the week, but those are the typical things that I would prioritise doing during term time.
Well, breathe out, firstly.
Yeah, this is a question I get asked a lot because I think people assume that we kind of all sort of drop sticks and just relax over the summer.
Yeah, so over summer, I always think I'm going to have so much time off, 3 months to reset. But realistically, we actually don't get that much time off.
As you can imagine, in term time, I'm teaching.
And normally I've built up quite a long to-do list of things that I just couldn't find the time to do during term time.
But, the summer is really where we have a little bit more space to work on our research projects.
And this will typically be particularly things to do with my professional practice activities. So that will be around finding new projects and approaching different organisations and businesses.
So a lot of the summer is spent getting those projects off the ground, working with other institutions and collaborators.
So that's typically where I focus on writing up my research papers.
Writing up things for a talk or presentation, and they could be writing up papers. I'm currently writing a book on cybersecurity.
Also, the summers are typically the time that staff go to conferences. So that's where we go and share our research, or teaching focus conferences will focus more on teaching practice, and you'll meet other academics from across the world and talk about your research and your teaching.
And also the teaching doesn't necessarily end, so I also do a lot of work supervising postgraduate students.
So their deadlines are usually not until quite late in August. And what that means is that actually we have all of summer left to kind of analyse the data they've collected so far and help them write up their projects.
So a lot of the work in the summer involves, supervising those students, both PhD students and also master's students as well.
I also spend that time preparing my resources for the next year. So I go through my lectures and think, okay, what worked, what didn't really work? I look through my feedback from students. Was there anything that they commented on? And I use that feedback to help kind of reshape my teaching resources. So the summer is definitely not a quiet period. It's just busy in different ways. So the list could go on, but that's just a snapshot of my kind of day-to-day things that I do within my role.